The sun hung high over the tranquil streets of Oak Ridge Heights, bathing the Indiana neighborhood in warm, golden light. In the midst of this idyllic scene stood 11-year-old Kiara Daniels, proudly manning her homemade lemonade stand. Her wide smile rivaled the vibrant sign she'd carefully crafted the evening before, which read in cheerful letters, "Kiara's famous lemonade, 50 cents a cup." Tiny hearts and hand-drawn lemons bordered the lettering, a testament to the love she poured into every detail. The stand was stationed right in front of her family's modest home, a snug, one-story house with a neatly trimmed lawn and a towering oak tree that lent a bit of shade. Kiara had been up since the crack of dawn, squeezing lemons, measuring out sugar, and adjusting her recipe to perfection. Her mom, Tasha, had supervised to ensure everything was just right, but this was Kiara's endeavor, her big chance to fund a special class trip to the Indianapolis Zoo. A tangy citrus aroma wafted through the air as Kiara stirred a big glass pitcher of lemonade. The gentle breeze carried the scent down the street, catching the attention of passers-by. Her first customer was Mrs. Andrews from next door, who approached with a kind smile and handed over 2 quarters. Taking a sip from the paper cup, she declared, "This is delicious, Kiara. You're going to sell out in no time." "Thanks, Mrs. Andrews," Kiara replied, her confidence growing. As the day wore on, cars slowed as they passed, with drivers honking and waving in support. Several stopped to buy a cup, and Kiara's tip jar quickly filled with a mix of coins and small bills. Across the street, kids playing basketball paused to glance her way, intrigued. One boy, around her age, eventually jogged over with $1 in hand. "I'll take 2, he said with a grin. "Coming right up," Kiara chirped, pouring carefully. By early afternoon, her face was flushed from the sun, and her little notebook showed she had already made $15, well on her way to her $50 goal. Tasha stepped outside, bringing her daughter a wide-brimmed hat to shield her from the heat. "You're doing amazing, baby," Tasha said, her voice brimming with pride. "Thanks, Mom. I think I'm getting better at pitching to customers, too," Kiara replied with a bright grin. Just then, the faint rumble of motorcycles broke the suburban calm. It started as a distant vibration, but the sound grew louder and closer with each passing second. Kiara shaded her eyes with one hand, squinting down the street. Around the corner came a procession of motorcycles, their chrome gleaming under the sun. There were at least 8 riders, each clad in black leather jackets and dark helmets. The roar of their engines reverberated through the neighborhood until, one by one, the motorcycles slowed to a stop, right in front of Kiara's lemonade stand. The basketball game across the street fell silent, and even Mrs. Andrews peeked nervously through her curtains. Kiara's heart thudded in her chest as the bikers killed their engines. The sudden stillness was broken only by the soft clinking of ice in her pitcher. The largest biker swung a leg over his motorcycle and stepped forward. His jacket bore patches Kiara couldn't read, and his thick gray beard framed a face that was both weathered and kind, though his expression gave nothing away. Removing his helmet, he revealed sharp eyes that studied her stand for a moment. "Is this where I can get the best lemonade in town?" he asked, his deep voice rumbling like the engine's moments before. Kiara swallowed hard but managed a nervous smile. "Why yes, sir. 50 cents a cup." The man chuckled, fishing a crumpled dollar from his pocket. "Make it 2. The tension in the air felt almost tangible as the rest of the bikers dismounted their motorcycles. Their boots thudded against the pavement, and intricate designs on their leather jackets, skulls, flames, and bold names, glinted in the sun. The leader extended the dollar to Kiara, his touch unexpectedly gentle. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured 2 cups of lemonade. She offered them with a polite smile, though her thoughts raced. Who were they? Why had they stopped here? The leader took a sip, pausing to savor the drink. He gave a slow nod of approval. "Not bad, kid," he said, his voice breaking the silence. "What's your name?" "Kiara," she answered softly, glancing toward her mother, who watched anxiously from the porch. "Well, Kiara," the man said with a grin, holding up his cup for the others to see, "I think you've got yourself a new customer base. Best lemonade I've had in years." A tall woman with braided hair and a jacket labeled Sherry stepped forward next. Dropping a $5 bill on the counter, she said warmly, "I'll take 10 cups for the crew." 10? Kiara stammered, grabbing extra cups and pouring quickly. The bikers gathered around, their initial intimidating aura softening into something almost celebratory. They cracked jokes, complimented Kiara's stand, and pulled out their wallets to tip generously. "Did you make this yourself?" one biker asked in a thick southern drawl. "Yes, sir," Kiara replied, her smile growing. "My mom helped, but it's my recipe." "Kid's got talent," he said, handing her a $20 bill for his 2 cups. The bikers clinked their lemonade cups together like they were at a barbecue, sharing laughter and stories. Slowly, Kiara felt her fears melt away, replaced by an unexpected warmth. One of the younger bikers, who couldn't have been much older than 20, crouched to her level. "What's the lemonade fund for?" he asked with genuine curiosity. "I'm saving up for a school trip to the zoo," Kiara explained, her voice steady now. The group let out a collective ah, and Sherry shook her head with a laugh. "Well, we can't just leave you hanging." Before Kiara could even begin to process what was happening, the bikers had sprung into action. One by one, they passed around a helmet, each of them dropping in cash like it was a sacred ritual. The metallic clinks of coins and the soft crinkle of bills filled the air, creating a rhythm that seemed to echo Kiara's disbelief. Her eyes widened as the helmet made its way back to her, brimming with generosity. "Here you go, sweetheart," said Sherry, handing the helmet to Kiara. Her voice was warm, her smile genuine. "This should cover more than just a zoo trip." Kiara peeked inside, her small hands trembling as she took in the sight. A gasp escaped her lips. There had to be over $200 in there, far more than she'd ever dreamed of earning in a single day. "Thank you," Kiara stammered, her voice quivering with excitement and overwhelming gratitude. "Thank you so much." "You earned it, kid," said the leader of the group, his lemonade glass now empty. He gave her an approving nod. "Hard work deserves support." Just as the buzz of the moment began to settle, one of the bikers, a large man with a tattoo of an eagle stretching across his muscular arm, fell silent. His rough, weathered exterior softened as he gazed at Kiara, something unspoken flickering in his eyes. "You remind me of my daughter," he murmured, his voice carrying the weight of something deeply personal. The group stilled. The laughter and light-hearted chatter evaporated, replaced by a solemn quiet. Kiara tilted her head, her young face filled with curiosity. "Your daughter?" The man nodded slowly, his expression a mixture of pride and pain. "She passed away a few years ago. She was about your age. Loved running little stands, just like this." His voice cracked slightly as he continued, "Seeing you out here, it's like seeing a piece of her again." Kiara, unsure of what to say, looked up at her mom, who had quietly moved to her side. Tasha placed a steadying hand on her daughter's shoulder and spoke softly. "I'm so sorry for your loss." The man gave a bittersweet smile, the kind that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Thank you. Helping her today, it feels like honoring her memory." "So, thank you too." For a moment, the group stood in reverent silence. Then, with a sudden clap of his hands, the leader broke the stillness. "All right, folks, let's not turn this into a cry fest. We've got more lemonade to buy." The laughter returned, bringing with it a renewed energy. The bikers began preparing to leave, but before they mounted their motorcycles, one turned back with a grin. "We're going to spread the word about your stand, Kiara. You'll have customers lining up around the block before you know it." Kiara's heart swelled, a radiant smile lighting up her face as she waved them off. The roar of their engines faded into the distance, leaving behind a memory far more profound than the sound of their departure. As the street grew quiet once more, Kiara stood by her lemonade stand, staring at the helmet stuffed with cash. The entire experience felt surreal, like a vivid dream she never wanted to wake from. Her mother broke the moment with a gentle laugh. "Well, baby, I think you just made more in one day than most lemonade stands make in a month." Kiara looked up, her wide eyes sparkling with wonder. "Do you think they were serious about spreading the word?" Before Tasha could respond, the sound of car doors slamming and lively chatter filled the air. A group of neighbors had gathered at the end of the street, drawn by the commotion. Among them was Mr. Harris, the owner of the local grocery store, along with a few kids from the basketball court down the block. "Hey, Kiara," one of the kids called out, his voice full of curiosity. "What's this we're hearing about bikers at your lemonade stand?" Kiara's cheeks flushed as she smiled nervously. They came by for lemonade and kind of bought a lot." "That's an understatement," Tasha chimed in, gesturing toward the helmet overflowing with cash. Word spread like wildfire through Oak Ridge Heights. Within an hour, more neighbors arrived, some out of curiosity, others eager to support the now famous lemonade stand. What had begun as a simple summer activity transformed into a vibrant community event. The stand became the center of attention. Parents swapped stories about their kids' entrepreneurial adventures, strangers laughed like old friends, and even the neighborhood kids joined in, waving makeshift signs to draw in more customers. Amid the lively crowd, Kiara noticed him, the burly biker with the eagle tattoo. He stood apart from the others, leaning quietly against a tree, his expression unreadable. "Mom," Kiara said hesitantly, "do you think he's okay?" Tasha followed her daughter's gaze and gave a knowing nod. "Why don't you go find out? Sometimes, people just need someone to listen." Kiara grabbed a cup of lemonade and made her way over, each step cautious but resolute. When she reached him, she held out the cup with a small, kind smile. "Here. It's on the house." The man looked down, surprised, then accepted the cup with a soft smile. "Thanks, kid." They stood in silence for a moment before Kiara broke it with a gentle question. "What was your daughter's name?" His tough exterior seemed to falter as he answered. "Amelia. But everyone called her Mia. She used to run a stand like this. Sold cookies and lemonade every weekend." Kiara smiled. "I bet her cookies were amazing." He chuckled, the sadness in his eyes giving way to a brief warmth. "The best. She always said she'd open a bakery someday, but she never got the chance." Kiara hesitated, then glanced back at her bustling lemonade stand. An idea sparked. "Do you think, maybe helping me today was like helping her?" The man's eyes softened, and he nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think it was." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and gold, Kiara and her mom sat on their front steps, a sense of peace settling over them. The once bustling lemonade stand now stood neatly folded, its presence replaced by something intangible yet deeply felt, a legacy of kindness and connection. Tasha held 2 glasses of lemonade from the last batch, offering one to her daughter with a warm smile. "So," she began, her voice soft but full of pride, "how does it feel to have run the most successful lemonade stand Oak Ridge Heights has ever seen?" Kiara laughed, the sound light and joyful. She took a sip, savoring the tangy sweetness. "It feels amazing," she admitted, her gaze drifting to the helmet stuffed with cash beside her. "But it's not just about the money. I didn't know something this small could bring so many people together." Tasha's expression grew thoughtful as she nodded. "That's the power of kindness, Kiara. When you give, even in small ways, it inspires others to do the same. And when people come together, big things can happen." Kiara glanced at the money again, her thoughts turning to the stories she'd heard and the people she'd met, the bikers, Doug, and the countless neighbors who'd come out to support her. "Mom," she said, her voice hesitant yet determined, "do you think we could donate some of this? Maybe to help kids who can't afford school trips or supplies?" Tasha's eyes sparkled with pride, and she placed a hand on Kiara's shoulder. "I think that's a wonderful idea." The thought of giving back filled Kiara with a sense of purpose. She thought about Doug and the bikers who had gone out of their way to help her, about the kindness they had shown, and the hope they had reignited in her. "I want to make people feel the way they made me feel today," she said, her voice quiet but resolute. "Like anything is possible." Above them, the first stars began to twinkle, their light soft and reassuring. Kiara leaned back, her heart full as she reflected on the day's events. What had started as a simple goal, a trip to the zoo, had grown into something far beyond her imagination. It was a lesson in generosity, a testament to the strength of community, and a reminder of how deeply people could impact each other's lives. As she sat there, surrounded by the calm of the evening and the warmth of her mother's presence, Kiara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Her lemonade stand might have been small, but its ripple effects were anything but. It had brought people together, sparked new friendships, and reminded everyone who passed by of the extraordinary power of kindness.